Welcome to Pop It Like It's Hot, episode 16-ish. We're here. We're going to talk about... I'm Dave, first of all.
Just read it over. Start over.
Yeah.
You have
All right.
episode 15 on this, isn't it?
I think I don't know what it is.
It's episode 16.
Should I say what it is?
We are on 16.
On the one in the Google Drive, it says 15. So it is 16, right?
It is 100%.
All right. Let's read it
I
back.
don't know.
All right.
Welcome to Pop It Like It's Hot. My name's Dave.
My name's Mike.
Also Mike.
Indeed. And we're here. We're going to talk about some challenge results. Then we're going to talk about what is the rock, paper, scissors of the format, meaning what beats what. We may not be getting it right on the first crack, so we'd like some audience participation in the comments, anywhere, social media-wise, wherever. But we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I really want to encourage you guys to start reaching out to us through even Reddit. Yeah, I know whoever listens to us, they find us on Reddit or YouTube, and there's an email link. I will be opening up a Discord channel for our listeners soon as well. I'll keep you posted on that, probably in a couple episodes once I get it all set up and all that.
We definitely appreciate feedback. And as far as takes go, we're definitely probably not going to get on the first. And if being on lands for 4 months has taught me anything, is iteration, and then always failure. But that being said, we are back at RIW, back in the shop this week. So if you're hearing a little background noise.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys noticed already.
Yeah.
Yeah, nerds can get loud when they get excited.
We're up here
Communicating with each other.
for their Wednesday Pauper.
Yeah, we just got done playing 4 rounds.
4 rounds, baby, on Elves.
Yeah.
3-0 and 1, baby. Back with a winning record.
0-4. Womp womp.
Yeah,
Finally beat Dave, by the way. So
Right.
for our listeners, so you understand, I've been playing Pauper at this shop with these two for
Almost
a year and a half.
now. Yeah.
Oh,
Has it been
yeah.
that long?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Every time I get matched against Dave, some of the games are close, whatever, but he always beats me. Always.
Yeah.
Just somehow ekes out these wins where it's like, it just doesn't make sense. I just never beat you. And today, not to rub it in, convincingly.
Oh, yeah.
You mean elves beat up a 3-color mana base?
Well, see, there's this thing. There's no astrolabe, so running 3 colors is moronic.
Right. I've had issues with the deck. Mana being top of the list of what kills me.
Yeah, those what are those cons tri-lands? That's where it's at, man. We gotta get
Yeah.
those in this format now.
I need that Jeskai one.
Thor suggested we should downshift Amulet. I'm not. I'm not opposed. Yeah, Amulet Vigor. Fix our mana. It can't be abused by a Glint Hawk or Core Skyfisher.
I feel like modern players would just get mad.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
it's
right.
too expensive. They can't do that.
Oh yeah, it is a pretty decent price for amulets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll get busted pretty hard.
There's an
but I would
ongoing
love
talk
it.
about how price all of a sudden has to be a factor in like what is available in formats or what should be banned. I see that all the time. I don't think that should ever be a factor, by the way. That is completely wrong. There is no way that the price of a card should ever reflect whether it should be legal or not. Just putting it out there. That is not something that should happen.
Maybe Wizards should reprint some cards instead. Like ridiculous cards like, I don't know, Oubliette comes to mind.
I like how you say oubliette.
Oubliette, is that wrong?
I like
Is
your-
it or
Or like vomiting when you
like
say
I'm?
it. Ooh.
I was told I say Detroit weird. Do I say that weird?
Yeah.
Detroit.
Do you really say it like
If
that?
that's how you
though?
really
Yeah,
say it.
Detroit.
Sounds like
We
you're
taught you how to
taking a
speak.
subtle jab
That's
at the
really
city.
weird.
I was raised by wolves.
How's that wolf teat milk?
It gets you by.
I like that.
So we ready to get into this? Take a short little take into yet another challenge.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right.
So, Tron, number 1. It's Tron,
Big surprise.
Tron
There we
meta
go.
right here. We are in it, boys.
Yeah.
I guess the notable 4 Impulse, 2 Simic Signet, and there are only 1 Stonehorn, so more of the removal, highly interactive situation of Tron. But then we have Boros, number 2, Boros Monarch with the main deck Shinobi. Golden Egg, seeing that pop up a little bit here and there as an alternate.
They're kicking back with that. I'm excited to see that card, actually. I still wonder if it's better than Vile. But we're not going to beat that one. But, yeah, it's cool to see that the people keep trying that in Boros.
Well, if you keep, you come back to last week you had a bunch of burn. This week you had a bunch of burn. It makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Then we're moving on. Elves. I think we're pretty common. We're seeing the 3 Hydroblasts as part of the sideboard here with the Distant Melody package.
That's what I was on tonight.
Yeah. Shout out.
Yeah. Actually, and I did borrow a lot from this is Cookie's list.
Yep.
What I still, in Cookie, if you're out there, man,
reach out to
what
us.
What are
man.
the Moments Peace for? I don't understand. I removed them. I just don't
I have
get
no
it.
idea how to get a hold of this guy. I was trying to get a hold of him.
I don't understand it. So if you're out there, man.
Yeah, drop. I'm Cookies now in the Discord. If you're listening, see us.
Look at a fellow Cookies.
Yeah, we're both Cookies.
Oh,
I think
wow.
this is meant to be.
That's cute.
Yeah.
A lot of cookies.
Moving down to 4th place, we had Burn, 4 Keldon Marauders, Firebrand Archer making an appearance, looking like that might be the trend on that.
Yeah, my man.
Yeah. Tron 5th, Heroic 6th, 4 main deck Cat,
Oh, that lifelink one or
the
whatever.
lifelinking, yes.
With the embalm nonsense. Yeah.
Boros Bully 7 and Burn in 8th. Yeah, man, Tron and Boros Bully, I feel like set the tone, and we're all kind of reacting from that. But
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it shows through the 2 Simic Signets and Tron. I think that helps in the mirror a lot. Sometimes in the mirror, it's just like who can get their prophetic prisms online quicker wins the game for Tron. And not even sometimes, all the time. Pretty much.
I'm going to float this idea out to you guys. The challenges are really boring.
Yeah, let's
Freaking boring.
yeah, especially with it
like
being
that top 8,
so much fun.
yawn, dude. Jeez.
Yeah, nothing unusual here. If you want to get moving along to.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a
main
shorter
topic
episode this
even.
time around.
I'm
But
a
I
little
did
pressed
want to
for
go
time,
over
too.
like the what beats what kind of scenario that we're
Yeah.
talking about, and I'll let you guys kind of lead it off.
Sure.
And just fill in.
yeah, so doing the prep for this, Nick, I think had a really good point of, I was trying to get a good consensus on what is the rock, paper, scissors. So I know we started by saying, maybe a list of 10 or 14 of the top decks, what beats what. But he was just saying, you have Tron and Boros at the top, and then you have a smattering of aggro decks kind of filling the same chair, and they're just kind of fighting over that spot. But really they're, if you're preparing for a tournament, you're looking at right now Tron and both versions of the Boros decks. I'll lump them together because they have a lot of overlap, but have a plan for against those guys. Meaning, if you're mid-range, I don't know how you could be, but, I think Boros is occupying the mid-range space. I think Tron is
we've seen
occupying
mono black
control.
fall off a lot. So
Right.
I mean, mono black plays out more or less like a mid range. They call it control, but it plays like mid range. So.
Consider Affinity a combo deck, I guess. Filling in that space.
I think most builds that are doing the Carapace Forger, I would still call like an aggro deck, right? Like
Well, I mean,
with the combo, they
yeah,
have the
with
combo
like-
element, but it's still,
yeah, they just kind of get it like it's a deck like that. It isn't like Scape Shift kind of like that in a way.
no. Scape Shift
Where it
from
has,
like the modern deck.
It's just pure combo.
That's very much combo.
Yeah.
They have the control variant, like the 5-color or 4-color rather, the Bring to Light, but the red-green version is a combo deck. Like you're not trying to go the beatdown plan. That's like a last effort kind of thing. That's not what you're trying to do.
right.
Yeah, when you look at Affinity or Elves, to me they're an aggro deck. But then they have, they can touch on 4, 5 colors. Like they can play the red combo-y finish cards for when the game does go long. And Tron's like, well, you're not attacking me anymore. Like they've got access to those other colors to say, okay, Mob Justice, you're dead, or Fling, you're dead. Like in that, and they could combo. But it's kind of like the second plan of, well, when the beatdown window closes, I still can like fireball you to the dome for the rest of it. So I think, breaking them down like, hey, they're aggro decks, they're fast. Their combo is kind of their second plan when maybe the board gets too muddled or when combat gets shut off by Tron type of thing.
Well, this is that weird world though, where like when you're defining a deck, it's hard to categorize elves or affinity really in one spot. They're definitely like a gray area deck because elves. Now that I've been playing, like that's all I've been playing for the past couple weeks. To me, yes, it's an aggro deck. I'm most likely winning by attack, but it plays like a combo deck, man. I'm digging for distant melody. I want distant melody, and it's as soon I know if I hit that, you are dead. Maybe not on board, maybe not right that minute, but if I cast a distant melody with a board established at all, I know that game is over. And it's just that simple because I'm going to play out everything in my hand based on that. Now, is that aggro? I don't know. It feels like a combo to me. It's just the way that it plops down and then Timberwatch hits and
it seems like it has all the classic, characteristics of a combo deck. I'd classify it personally as a combo deck first, just with a beatdown plan.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So like, it's kind of hard to categorize that. And kind of reaching back to what you said in the beginning about there's at any given moment we have our top two decks like Tron and Boros, and then we have that aggro flex spot. I think that's where you can take the spike approach, right? Where you can go, all right, well, yeah, I get it. Red deck wins is probably the best aggro deck to play right now into this Boros Tron thing, but I'm feeling frisky. I'm going to go do this elf thing. And I think there is this fourth slot that you can occupy if you want to spike a tournament. If you kind of do your homework, you know what you're going to expect to see, you can pick one of these like tier 2-ish fringe decks and just slam through and take tournaments.
That's a tall order, with pauper because you're talking about like our local meta, or if wherever you're playing, if you're outside of online and you're looking to spike, your local, LGS or whatever tournament, you're still gonna you're gonna expect a great deal of different kinds of decks, and anybody can be on any given deck. I'll be on lands for months, but I know Dave rotates a lot of decks. You rotate a lot of decks. Yeah. I'm never like the only thing my takeaway today even was get ready for dirtlers. I feel like this meta is now turned dirtly. I thought it was aggro
for sure.
But when I'm looking at the online meta, like I shape my deck to deal with that. Particularly just like aggro I think comes first when you're game planning like leagues and stuff like that, and then when you get big tournaments then you're like probably looking more at Tron and more dirty decks are going to be available, which is weird, but that's what I've been seeing.
I think just maybe if we're talking the rock paper scissors thing, and we can talk whether burn or elves or affinity is a combo or aggro deck, I would but I think just the characteristic to look at is their speed, and that they go under Tron and they can punish Boros for their slower draws when they're playing with their lands, and they're like, oh, turn 3, Skyfisher, finally. Like, and you're like, okay, you're dead.
Yeah.
But like the speed is what they're leveraging, and in that to have that chair, I think Burn is really well positioned by being able to beat up on Boros, and you can see, the utility lands of Boros, trying to give them edge in that, and their sideboard if they're on Circle of Protection red or Lone Missionary gain, like they know where they stand with that. Game 1, and they got to win game 2 and 3 generally.
So kind of leaning back to the beginning of it, though, we were talking about like what beats what, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, how deep are we going into that? Do you want to like talk like you are going to sit across from Tron? What is your preferred choice? Is that what you wanted to do with this? Like, what beats Tron?
I think
Panza? Are we going back to Panza and Pauper?
Well,
all right.
Well, okay, yeah. So we'll say yes. Panza probably has a good chance on against Tron.
Leave my lands alone,
unless they keep that 6-lander knowing what you're on.
I don't know. I'm a scrub, dude. I've played a lot of Panza and Pauper, and I'm telling you what, Tron doesn't care.
If they print
you gotta clock them.
What is it, Winter's Grasp? If that becomes a common, I'm jamming elves with 8 land destruction spells. So
elves are affinity.
That'd be great.
Elves are affinity to me.
And that's what you're taking on Tron with?
What beats Tron? I was talking. I actually reached out to quite a few people in the Discord to ask, known pilots or just anybody willing to chat me up about what's good matchups for them. And one of the ones I talked to was Burp, and he had mentioned Elves is a slightly bad matchup and Affinity is a 50-50 matchup, and everything else is good. And another deck that has a similar take was also Bully.
So I want to stop you on Tron, though. So you didn't mention what I thought, and I think anyone that's been in the format for a while just thinks is a shoe-in against Tron is no Mono U. Is it Mono U, like, classically one of the decks you run into Tron and just go, if I see Tron, I mold to see my Delver, and I flip that boy, and I'm good.
Yeah, and that's where that rock, paper, scissors really comes into play, is you're going to be playing Mono Blue Delver at a very bad time because Bully just takes that to the house. It's just like, sure, you're going to beat Tron a good number of times because you're on Mono Blue.
Right, so that's where the food chain element comes, is you're going to get
exactly.
cannibalized, or not cannibalized, but eaten up by all the other decks that prey on that particular deck when you're just targeting one.
Yeah, the Boros decks I feel is probably doing a great deal to push out Mono Blue out of the meta.
Oh yeah, it's miserable to play.
Sure.
I'll tell you straight up, I've tried. I still, quotes, sleeve it up on MTGO and take it into 1v1s and just get obliterated. And it's like, oh man, this is, whew.
Just
That's
hoping
why I don't
Tron.
play this deck.
I was told there's a lot of Tron.
Or Burn. Like, I'm okay with seeing Burn on that deck too, and you just don't see it. Like, every time I play it, it's like, oh, here's the Mono Black again. Or here's Boros.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I think Blue-Black has a chance to occupy the control seat as well. But
wouldn't Tron just do that better? Like, are you saying, like,
I would say,
Blue-Black can beat up on Tron?
Oh,
no. If you're playing Gurmag, I think you get another angle of attack that Tron doesn't have, maybe against like the Boros decks, particularly. I'd like to just point out there's no Burning Tree Emissary in the top 32 of this challenge. So like if you're stuck on Stompy or Red Deck Wins, you might want to move to a different flavor of an aggressive deck.
Stompy is really fallen off.
Right.
And it was just maybe a month or so ago where that was like the deck. Like we were talking about how that just took down another challenge. It was crazy. That was the deck. And that goes back to what you said about this whole idea of this weird triangle of mid-range. We have our control, so we have our Tron and our Boros, and then we have our aggro flex. Because who knows what it's going to be at any given time. Right now it looks like it's Burn. But the meta slightly shifts and people start really focusing on Burn. It could easily go to Red Deck Wins, or I don't know what other aggro decks we have that are actually any good. Bogles is kind of a dead deck now too, right? So,
Bogles to me seems like it has good game against Boros, Heroic to some degree too.
I guess Heroic.
So they kind of have a different jockeying for what they're good at beating. But I mean, Stompy falling off, I would say, directly related to Boros being the new mid-range deck, right? Like you're not Jeskai anymore, so I think just shifting from Jeskai to Boros went from having a good mid-range matchup to having a shit one.
Yeah, I got to play Chris today, our local Stompy player, and he was bringing up. We discussed. I think you were there too. Yeah, he was discussing the matchup for Boros, and he just felt like it was awful. Like he couldn't.
Yeah, shift into playing Young Wolf main deck to try and combat.
Well, it's just the norm to be on like 2 or more copies of Strands now too, right?
Yeah.
Even in Boros.
For me, the matchup.
And Bully, they run 4.
So they. I mean,
them having Skyfisher, and if they're playing that build, forces the Stompy player to act first. Like if there's a Skyfisher, and Boros has open red mana, like Stompy usually is in a position where they have to initiate combat, and then have to do something about it. Otherwise, their guy just gets eaten.
Yeah.
And in which case, potential blowout for the Boros guy to just, blow up your Savage Swipe that you tried to, do before combat, or your trick that is now going to be a, I don't know, what is it? Skyfisher drew a card potentially, so it could just be a 2-for-1 plus.
Or,
0 for 2.
Do you one better for miserable board states for Stompy against Boros is like, so Bully goes turn 1 Faithless Looting, Stompy goes turn 1, Nettle Sentinel or whatever, and then Bully comes back with turn 2 Seeker of the Way, and then they have from pitching online, they put their strands online from pitching it to the turn 1 Faithless Looting, and now all of a sudden they're all sorts of trouble. They can't profitably attack into the Faithless Looting, and they could be potentially giving their opponent life. It's just a miserable place to be in.
Yeah, that's prismatic strands and Moment's Peace are all over the top end of this 32, so I'd imagine that's playing a role in what's doing well, what's not. Like, you got to have a plan for, like, that's why I think, if you're on Elves and Affinity, you have that combo out for that.
Right.
I guess specifically for Moment's Peace, but
I got to start doing leagues with Elves now that I've been doing the 1v1s and see what the a little bit stiffer of competition is like. But as it stands right now, and I could be wrong, but Elves feels great, like in the current meta, and I think it's underrepresented for how great it feels.
right.
I really, really have liked it. In fact, I've bragged about it with you guys, and might as well put it on the old podcast. I'm like 9-5 playing 1v1s with Elves. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was 9-1, and then I've just picked up some losses. It feels great. It just does.
Yeah. Run it while you can. I mean, I've had some heaters. I built a Grixis deck a few months ago, and it was an unbelievable heater of 12 1-1 over 4 or 5 tournaments, or maybe it was more than that. It was I'd lost one time, had 2 draws, and then just 4-0, 3-0-1, 4-0, 3-0-1, 3-1. It was whoa.
Yeah.
Mopping up everybody as long as nobody brings Tron. This mid-range monster just taking everything out. But
Yeah, we don't see a lot of Tron up here at all, so you can just scoot in there.
yeah, maybe bring that one
our
back.
Tron guys have kind of fell off the map a little, actually. They should come back. Lands is really good against them.
Yeah, what do you guys? I mean, Slivers is a deck I see could pop up, take another seed of maybe a more hardy aggro deck.
So if you look and we talk about the challenge, if we backtrack to that, there was a pretty interesting list, and just you bringing up Slivers, I wanted to make sure to mention it, that was running the pinging Sliver in the Naya build. That's pretty cool. Just
That's
putting it out
one way
there.
to beat Foglots.
I don't know if that's ever going to be doing the whole aggro role, but that is pretty cool.
I believe Caleb. I believe Caleb D. Is that?
I think
He
was
did
working on
official
it.
brain.
Yeah, I think he was working on it.
Yeah, he. I saw a video recently where he was using that.
So you want to talk about the food chain stuff, and you did the research. So let's talk about this whole what beats what thing and who you talked to.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some guys. They were kind enough to work with me on that, and I've been actually kind of started this whole journey where I'm hoping to actually expand on this more. But so I talked to Sleck on Discord. I believe he just top 8'd. If I'm not mistaken, it's the same guy that just top 8'd with Bully. If you want, I can just go down the list of things. Sure. Okay. So Stompy, he says, is very favorable. Burns, very favorable for Bully. Elves is 50-50. Affinity, slightly favorable. He says mono black control, you can win if you keep Monarch and outgas him. And he says that's not hard to do. And but they can punish you with board wipes and Monarch. Says, is it Fae is favorable, and black white Pestilence is a bad matchup, and Tron is an impossible matchup, is what he says. Impossible. So, I mean, I basically gave several people a list of what is the most played decks, of top 10 most played decks according to MTG Goldfish, and they went down the list. And time and time again, we came at people would talk to me about Pro Baskis. Sorry if I'm messing up your name. Talked about Stompy. He said, things like the tricky part is Stompy can fight almost every deck in the format. Even its bad matchups aren't terrible. So there's I think the key here is understanding there's nuance within the food chain itself. It's not as black and white as the X beats that. You have draw dependent matchups like you on elves. If you don't explode before they get, like, say, witches online against mono black control, I mean, you could be in for a tough time if they just kind of snipe your early dorks here and there with like divest or whatever, and then they get, the witches online. Then you can be in a lot of trouble. And I don't know. We can keep going. I got some feedback for Black White Pestilence. Says Bully is a good matchup. Monarch's 50-50. Burn's a good matchup. Fogtron's bad. Elves is good. Mono Black Control's bad. Is It Fae is good. And Stompy is good. So what I'm seeing is like a lot of these decks that are not Tron are losing to Tron or whatever, but they're just like great against the field.
Right.
And that's basically what it's almost like. I think we've talked about dichotomies before on the show, like where you have like this two choices between either Tron or decks that are just good against the rest of the field, and just you just like, whatever, maybe I can beat Tron, maybe I can't.
I think that's a fine spot to be. I mean, you don't have to be able to beat everybody.
Right.
So if you're just, the like longest game mid-range deck, you're not technically control, but everyone else can come and get it. That's a fine spot to be in. How many times in a big tournament are you playing Tron? Maybe you start playing him towards the end, and it's like you said, it's nuance. It's not just, we don't just sign the match slips based on, oh, here's my deck. Oh, here's what I'm playing. Okay, you win. Like,
right.
Or else you can become the Monarch and just pile up burn, and feel like you're in a pretty good spot at that point. So
something that I noticed about this that isn't reflected in the challenge results. I'm going through your good bad matchup thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty consistently, I'm seeing all of these boys say, "Burn is a good matchup. Burn is a good matchup. Burn is a good matchup." Guess what? Burn is a good matchup. Burn is a 50-50 matchup. Burn is a good matchup. Didn't Burn take like a bunch of slots? Like, how is it so good against or how is it so bad against every deck? And
well, I think there's multiple factors to that. One being that Burn is a kind of deck that you sign up for heavy variance. And I think that shows, you had a whole bunch of Burn one week and then a whole bunch of Burn the next week. Burn did better this week than the week before.
Would you say that Burn can run hot?
Yes. Yes, I would. And I think a lot, like you were saying, like you can't just sleeve up a deck and be like, oh, this is the best deck, I'm going to win. You look at the challenge results, that doesn't show. You have a whole bunch of Tron players, and
right.
Tron doesn't show up like 50% of the top 8 or anything like that. A lot of them found that that's a very difficult deck to pilot. So that's why you pick those decks like Bully, where it's like great against the rest of the field, and that whole rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. And you just go, okay, I'm going to play Bully. I'm going to have a much easier time as far as like it can still be a grindy deck, but it's not going to be grindy like Tron is. It's not going to like burn you out at the end of an event. You're not going to like I believe Hal Saw was saying, shout out to Fruzile listening to his podcast. He had him on either that or it was Hamp Hughes. It was one of you Tron players out there, one of you degenerates was saying that they took a strategic loss. They were like 6-0, and they're like, I'm gonna rest for whatever amount of time, to help them, be able to go into that final round.
Well, we are kind of running on time. We decided to record this after our Pauper Wednesday, and it looks like they want to close. But all right, we're out.
Peace. Later.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to that episode. I do have a little something to say. I think from this point forward, we're going to call it on Papa Like It's Hot, like a hiatus. We're going to just kind of take a break. It's become increasingly hard to record these episodes and bring you guys content that we really want to bring you. It's not to say in the future that it won't continue, but I have Dave here. We wanted to record a message to just kind of let you guys know, like, we appreciate everyone that's tuned in and listened and supported us over the past few months. Just It is what it is. We really don't feel like we can continue with the podcast as it stands.
Yeah, just appreciate all the listeners, all the followers, the Pauper community as a whole. RW for helping us out. But yeah, we'll be taking a break, doing some other stuff. But yeah, thanks everybody for being a part of it and listening.
All right. So keep posted. And once again, thank you guys. Catch it.
Later.
Look, she's closed on Sunday. She's my Chick-fil-A.